and welcome to my channel. My name is Dawn, and today we are going to be talking about my top 10 things that you need to learn when becoming an indie author. Okay, so you've decided you want to become an author. That is great. I'm excited because I want to become one too. And I thought that this would be a good platform to share my knowledge that I've learned as I go along, and hopefully bring some of the knowledge to you guys as you are becoming indie authors or published authors yourself. So this episode, we're going to talk about the 10 things that I think you need to look at and learn when you're deciding to become an indie author. Some of the things you can maybe hold off on a little bit, but most of it, it's a good idea to get ahead of the game and to learn some of these things beforehand. And yeah, some of the things I wish I would have done a little earlier myself. So let's get on with it. Okay, so the first thing you need to learn when becoming an indie author, what genre are you going to write in? You need to know what genre you're going to write before you write. Are you wanting to write romance? Or are you going to write thrillers or YA or paranormal or new adults? There's a lot of genres out there. Are you going to write rom-coms? Are you going to write historical novels? Are you going to be a fiction author or a non-fiction author? Because that's very different as well. So first thing you need to do is decide what genre you want to write in. Then, when you figure out what genre you're going to write in, you need to find out if there's any subgenres in that category. So, next you would need to find out, like with romance. Romance is a huge, wide, vast variety of genres within the romance genre. There is YA romance. There's new adult romance. There's historical romance, there's paranormal romance, there's contemporary romance, there's erotic romance, there's erotica romance. So you need to decide where you want to fit in to that genre. If you haven't really decided where you want to fit in exactly, maybe you need to read a few books in a genre that you think you want to write in, to make sure it kind of vibes with what type of story you have in your head. Because most authors, when they want to become an author, they already have a story. Their first story is already in their head. It's already in there and they want to get it out, and then that's when they decide that they want to become an author. So if you know what your story is about and you're not really sure where exactly you fit in the genres, maybe it's a good idea to study those genres and find out where exactly you fit in. My second tip, or second thing that I think you should learn, is pen name. So, do you want to have a pen name or do you not want to have a pen name? Some of these things I'm going to go on separately, individual episodes. This is just a rundown on my top 10. So, a pen name, do you want to go by your full name? Do you want to break down your name into a smaller version of your name? Do you want a completely different name altogether? Those are all things that you need to think about when you want to become a writer, because if you're going to start your social media, your website, all this stuff, you need to know that name right off the bat. So that's my number 2. My number 3, read about the craft. There are so many books out there talking about becoming an author and things you need to learn to become an author and how to write your books properly. There's so many great books out there. I'm going to list down below some of the books that I've read that I think helped me in the romance genre. Yeah, I might try and put a few others that are just books in general, not specific to the genre, because I'm sure there are other genres that have specific books. Like if you want to write paranormal books, I'm sure there's some sort of book out there that tells you how to write those books successfully. I'm going to go through all of them because I probably will do that in another video as well. But just so you can have a little bit of a reference, I'll jot some stuff down below. Number 4 is setting up social media. So you need to decide which type of social media you want to be a part of. Depending on the age of your readers, some may say Facebook isn't a good one. Some may say maybe not TikTok or whatever. I think the more social media platforms you get into, the better chance you have of getting your books known. Yes, Facebook does tend to gear more to the older crowd, but Facebook is also a fairly good place to have a social media presence, because there are still a lot of people that do browse Facebook, and there are Facebook groups, and there are Facebook, you set up your author page and stuff like that. So you definitely want to check out social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. Those are some of the main ones that I know of. I was told Tumblr isn't really the greatest anymore for that, maybe depending on the genre. But yeah, my daughter's like, if you do steamy romance, it's not good on Tumblr, because they want nothing that is not PG related on there anymore. So I don't know. Okay, my number 5 is create an author website. So there's so many different author websites out there that you could use, depending whether or not you want to sell your books through your own website, or if you're just using it as like a blog type thing to advertise your books. There is WordPress, there's Wix, there's Weebly, there's GoDaddy, there's Squarespace. So I suggest taking a look at those websites and maybe browsing different authors that use those websites to find out what will fit your genre and your books the best, and what you want to put into it. If it's just for advertising and like a blog type thing, maybe WordPress is best for you. If you want to sell your books online, I know a lot of people use Wix, a lot of people use Squarespace. So I use Wix. But yeah, so definitely research the different websites and find out what is the best for you. My number 6 is traditional or self-published. You need to decide, maybe not right away, but you need to start looking into and finding out things about both of those. And there are pluses and there are negatives in both. So you definitely want to check it out and find out what you want to do. If you want to go traditionally, that is awesome. It's a lot harder to get into as a traditional author. You might be rejected, and then you have to do it all over again, and it could take months and months and months, possibly even years, before you get your first book signed. If you want to go independent, like an indie author, it's all on you. The writing is on you, the editing is on you, the book covers are on you, the formatting is on you. All of that is up to you to do. You can hire other people to do them for you, by all means, or you can learn about it and try and do it yourself. But you need to do whatever you can do to make your books as professional as possible. So definitely you need to think about that as you're writing. That is not something that you need to learn right away, but it does take a lot of research to learn about the differences between the two. So it's never too early to start researching whether or not you want to be a traditional or indie author. My number 7 tip is budgeting. Ugh, I don't like that word. Whether or not you decide you want to be a traditional publisher or indie author, it is about a budget. I mean, not so much for traditional, because they usually pay for most of the stuff themselves, but you still have to pay for a lot of your marketing on your own. So you definitely need to come up with some sort of budget and find out what type of marketing plans would work with you and your budget. Same with indie authors. You have a lot of things you need to pay for. Whether or not you're good with Photoshop and you want to do your own covers, that's great. But you may not be good at editing. You may not be good at formatting your book. You know, you might not know how to set up your own website, so you might want somebody to pay somebody to set up a website for you. There's a whole bunch of things that come into it when planning to become an indie author that does cost money. So depending whether or not you have limited funds or whether or not you have enough funds that you don't have to worry about it. If you have to plan and budget and save for these things, it's probably best to start saving right away. That way, when you're done your book, you don't have to be like, oh my God, now I need $200 for a cover and I don't have anything. My book's done, but I can't do anything now with it until that happens. So definitely try and start a budget as soon as possible so that you're not stuck waiting to get money to do what you want to do because you're excited your book is done and you want to get it out there. So you don't want to wait any longer than you have to. My number 8 thing you need to do when learning to become an indie author is join groups. Okay, there is a lot of groups out there. There is tons and tons and tons of Facebook groups with people who are just starting to write. Get out there and get on those Facebook groups. There's tons and tons and tons of groups based on writing, whether or not it's romance novels, or I'm sure there's a different group for thriller writers and horror writers and, you know, stuff like that. So you definitely need to search the Facebook groups. There are certain books. There is one called Wide for the Win. So it doesn't really base on genre. It's just whether or not you want to publish wide or whether or not you want to publish in Kindle Unlimited. So there's certain different groups for that as well. And they are so full of information and tips and tricks, and they're all so nice. The people in those groups are so nice. There's an author network group, I believe. If you're a clean romance writer, there is the Writing Gals has a group. So definitely check out those Facebook groups. And I'm going to leave a list below of some of the Facebook groups that I've joined that have helped me in my author journey so far. And if you have any Facebook groups that you know of, definitely drop them down below and let us know, because the more groups, the better, because it gives you more information, more people sharing their stories, and it just helps in the long run. So I definitely think Facebook groups, when it comes to learning to become an indie author, is a great resource. Number 9 tip in becoming an indie author is to find out what type of length your novels are going to be, because there are different lengths based on the different genres. I'm going to do another video about that. I'm going to do another video about everything we've talked about today. This is just a quick rundown, but I will do videos on all these topics at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. The length of your novel is huge, because if, say, with my genre, the romance genre, there are short stories, there are novellas, there are regular length romance books, and then there are fairly longer romance books. Mostly romance books, I do believe, are anywhere from 50,000 words to about maybe 100,000 words, depending on what genre you're writing in the romance genres. I know that a lot of the romance novels are on the shorter side, unless you're traditional, and then there are a little bit that are a little bit longer, like for instance, Robin Carr, love her. Shelter Mountain is over 300 pages long. It doesn't say exactly how many words or anything on here, but 395 pages for Shelter Mountain. So it's definitely, and here's another romance author I enjoy, Marie Force. So her book, now she is a hybrid author. She traditionally publishes and indie publishes. And this book here, let's get to, okay, Fool for Love is 265 pages. Stories are usually under 20,000 words. Novellas are typically under 40,000, over 20 and below 40. So it really depends, but you definitely need to find out what length your books belong in as far as novel length, because some people that read romance may not want to read a book this thick, like The Dome by Stephen King, when it's a romance. Romance readers are very quick readers. They like to read their books quickly and get them out of the way and get on to the next one because we're very avid, very addicted to our romance books. So we tend to like our books a little on the shorter length. So you definitely need to check that and check what length is typical for your genre. Because the last thing you want to do is keep writing this book, and it's getting bigger and bigger and longer and longer and longer. And then you look and you're like, oh, they say these books should be 60,000 words. And I'm at 110. So now you have to decide, do I cut a whole bunch of stuff out? Do I break this book into two and have it as a duet? Right? So sometimes it's just easier to find out, and then you can kind of plot or figure out your book a little bit better, knowing how long you need the book to be. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. My number 10 tip in becoming an indie author is read in your genre. I think, well, that's number 10, but I also think that could be one of the most important tips, is to read in your genre. This way you can see how the books come to, how their structure is. When does the exciting point of the book happen? When does the fight happen? When does he proclaim his love to her happen? In all these books, and even movies, if you sit and you watch a Hallmark movie, you will see these certain points in the movie that happen in the books. I'm watching these movies and I'm like picking apart these movies going, okay, this is where this happens. This is where that happens. This is where that happens. Okay, they're actually doing all these steps that are in a typical novel in the movies as well. So it definitely helps to read in your genre. And the more you read in the genre, the more comfortable you are with your writing, because you will get used to when things come when. And not only that, but how to word certain things, how to describe certain things, learning how to, or seeing how they show but not tell certain things. So it is in your best interest to read as many books in your genre as possible. I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to read in my genre because I don't want to be writing my book and be like, I think I've read that somewhere before. And then now you don't want to write your book because you're thinking you're taking something from some other author. But you've got to read in your genre. You've got to learn how to put a book together. And the easiest way to do that is read a lot of books. That is the number one tip Stephen King gave about becoming an author. The number one tip he said is read a lot and write a lot. The more you read about your genre and read in your genre, the more you can write in your genre. I think that's pretty sound advice. So definitely read in your genre. Since starting my author journey, I have read probably last year alone, I read 335 romance novels last year. Some are novellas, some are full length, but some are audiobooks as well. I love audiobooks. But, 300 last year alone. I'm already at 110 this year. So I've read probably in the past 2 years, I've probably read 500 books already. Yeah. So, and I have noticed in my writing, recently, my writing does tend to flow a little bit better because I'm kind of more aware of when I'm supposed to do certain things in my books. So anyways, those are my top 10 tips on things you need to learn when becoming an indie author. I am going to go and do videos for all these tips on separate episodes just to go into it a little bit more in detail. Some of them I may combine together, but yeah, so that's my top 10 tips. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and don't forget to check the links below for book suggestions and Facebook groups, and what else? I'm not even sure. I don't remember everything I said. But yeah, definitely the books about the crafts that I learned, and the Facebook groups and stuff like that, and some websites that I've read that have a lot of information about becoming an author. I'll stick those down below as well. One website you definitely want to check out is Reedsy. authortube.com. They actually have little mini classes that you can subscribe to, and it gives you like one part of the class for each day for like 5 days. I did a lot of that when I first decided to become an author, and I'm probably gonna have to reread through some of them because I don't remember all of it, but it's definitely a good site to go to. So I'll drop the link to that below as well. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed my first AuthorTube video on how to become an indie author. And I will create a playlist at some point with all the different episodes of helping someone becoming an indie author in there as well. And then there's going to be videos on creating your website, creating your Facebook pages, different social medias, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to do all the stuff, all the things. I want to do all the things. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you have any questions, definitely comment down below, and I will do my best to answer them for you. And check all the links down below for book recommendations, Facebook groups, and other websites that will help you when you've decided you want to become an author. And I'm hoping to put out a video every week on these topics, so hopefully you will subscribe and hit that bell so you're notified when a new video comes out. So anyways, I hope you guys had a wonderful time with me today. I had a blast, and I can't wait for next time. Until then, happy writing. Bye.